It is good to be back among you humanists. Polly, did you say 24/7 on demand? 24/7 on demand humanism, and you guys didn't even put it on pay-per-view? You guys could cash in on that. I am glad to be with you. I am proud to be a UU humanist, and I am proud to be the executive director of the American Humanist Association. We work to build community and positive identity for the 45 million Americans who believe science tells us what's real and empathy tells us what's right. And we mobilize them to fight for the separation of church and state and social justice, or as the Trump administration calls it, terrorism. This is the culmination of a childhood dream. I was an argumentative kid, and so I always hoped one day I would grow up to run the American Association of People Who Agree with Me. That's a joke, because humanists, can you imagine humanists agreeing on anything? Has anyone heard the joke, 2 Jews, 3 opinions? For humanists, it's 2 humanists, 4.5 opinions, and an epistemological debate about whether you can have half an opinion. My fiance taught me that joke. She's a secular Jew. When a Unitarian humanist marries a secular Jew, we call that an interfaithless marriage. She loves our UU church in Minneapolis, but she sometimes refers to us as the island of misfit goys. But she's fallen for the beautiful intersection of Unitarian Universalism and humanism for the same reason that I do. Humanism calls us to replace dogma with inquiry, tradition with progress, and devotion to abstractions with devotion to people. And Unitarian Universalism calls us to greet the world with radical, embodied love. And UU humanists know that our commitments to reason and love, to the self-determination of the individual, and the covenants we make with our communities are not contradictions but cousins. They strengthen each other. When drawn together and seen through, they instill in all of us a deep commitment to human dignity and fighting for change. We would not be who we are without each other, and neither tradition will grow and flourish to its fullest extent unless we do it in partnership. I come to you today with a question. What does it mean to be a religion of democracy? What does it mean to be a religion of democracy in a time of authoritarianism? As many of you may know, John Dietrich, the former minister of this church, founded the American Humanist Association. But he didn't do it alone. He did it with his friend Curtis Reese, a Unitarian minister from Des Moines, Iowa. And Reese, at the time, was calling humanism the religion of democracy to his flock. Reese said, the theocratic view of the world order is autocratic, and the humanistic view is democratic. And we hold that this is our world, and it depends on us what the world order should be like. Dietrich and Reese had a debate about what to call their new invention, the idea of a religion without revelation, a moral community organized around worship, not of something outside of ourselves, but our common humanity. And Dietrich convinced Reese to call it humanism. Sometimes I wish Reese had won the debate. The religion of democracy is a wonderful thing to call humanism, an excellent way to define what we believe in for a tradition that's too often defines itself by what we don't. We believe in something beautiful and something real. We believe in each other. We don't believe morality or truth have supernatural explanations, which means those explanations come from us. When we say science tells us what's real and empathy tells us what's right, it's not because science is self-evidently correct or even that empathy always leads us in the right direction, but because we know there is nothing more beautiful, more powerful, more useful, more effective, more sacred than people coming together and working together to seek truth and work for justice. As Dietrich said, as minister of this church, if we have values, they are human values. If we have purpose, it is human purpose. If we have ends, they are human ends. Some people ask me if humanists reject the existence of a supreme being, and I say, oh, it's worse than that. We reject the concept of a supreme being. We reject any theory of power, of righteousness, of dignity that does not believe it is the equal inheritance of every one of our neighbors. The authoritarian movements trying to drag this country backward operate on the premise that we are born broken. They believe we are unworthy, depraved, in need of redemption from an outside authority. They teach us from birth that we cannot trust ourselves, that our nature is corrupt, and that our only hope lies in submission. And humanism offers a different story. It asserts that we are born with inherent dignity and nearly limitless potential. It asserts that we are good by nature. It asserts that morality is not something that is handed down from on high, but is something we forge in ourselves through human experience and relationship. Because while others will tell us it is a sin to seek knowledge and want freedom, that such things are a path to moral decay and societal destruction, we believe that giving people the tools to wonder and create and discover and question, to live lives on their terms and seek their own answers to their own questions, is what allows us to build resilient societies. We believe in humanity and its potential because we are the only thing that is coming to save us. And here to me is the part that is perhaps most important. In a time where we feel more isolated from each other than ever before, in an age of skyrocketing anxiety and depression, at a moment where too many of us feel that our worth is conditional. We offer an antidote to the religious right's most dangerous lie. Look, I find a lot of the Bible difficult to believe. For starters, I don't know any guy my age with 12 friends. But the part... Can you imagine trying to organize that dinner party? My camel won't start. Anyway. But the part I consider not only to be the most incorrect, but the most dangerous and destructive is the concept of original sin. The idea that people can be born inherently broken and earn worthiness through submission. The idea that people are naturally wicked, that we are risks to be managed and controlled, scrutinized and purged by force if necessary. That the path to a better world comes from suppression, by condemning the way some of our neighbors are born to live and born to love, by constantly looking at humanity through a deficit lens, seeing ourselves as failures waiting to happen. I find that not just wrong, but deeply profane. And again, it was humanists who realized and proved that this was not the way to a better world. It was the humanistic psychologists like Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow, who created client-centered psychology and the hierarchy of needs, who realized that we cannot grow from shame, that improving ourselves and improving the world comes from adopting a hopeful ideal of who we want to become and challenging ourselves to achieve it, by seeing ourselves not as broken, or inherently and unchangeably flawed, but as reservoirs of potential and wisdom and heroism and kindness if we work to make it so. Humanists believe in the inherent wholeness, not the inherent brokenness of the individual. And we believe this not because it is an ideal, but because we have found consistently and comprehensively through evidence, we love evidence, that when we understand and treat people in this way, as capable and competent and worthy, that is when they become their healthiest and most productive selves and contribute to a better world. This distinction matters because your view of humanity determines your politics. If you believe people are inherently broken, you build systems of control and domination. You build hierarchies where the righteous control the wicked. But if you believe people are inherently valuable and capable, you build systems of liberation. You build public schools. You build democracy. Belief systems are about more than who made the world and what happens after we die. Belief systems are about more than who made the world and what happens after we die. They're theories about where morality lives, where power belongs, and where truth resides. We have a cynic in the White House who invokes the language of God because he reveres not Jesus but power. And the language of God has been used again and again and again by corrupt and incompetent authoritarian hacks like him, because it is the best way to tell people that truth and power and morality does not rightfully reside with all of us equally, but somewhere else. And when you ask humanists where morality lives, where power belongs, where truth resides, the answer is always in all of us. We believe the higher power we are searching for is our common humanity. And that brings me to the future of our movement. We are in a dark moment in the American story. 250 years ago, when Thomas Paine wrote, "These are the times that try men's souls," he was talking about tyranny and the psychological wound of knowing that you are living with something less than liberty. Our country has been hijacked by an unholy alliance of billionaires, bishops, and bigots, what I call the axis of nonsense. The billionaires, the Elon Musks of the world, tell us that empathy is a weakness. Musk actually went on a podcast and said the fundamental weakness of Western civilization is empathy. They want us to believe that caring for one another is what's killing us. They talk about suicidal empathy because they want us to fall into suicidal apathy. The bishops, the religious right, are telling us that freedom is dangerous. They tell us that our bodies are not our own, that our love is a sin, that our desire for knowledge is an affront to God. They tell us the lie that we're broken and can only become worthy and whole by bending our knee in their direction. And the bigots traffic in the cheap and addictive drug of resentment. They tell young men specifically that their path to feeling strong is to make someone else feel weak. They feed them the illusion that you can become powerful through hate and discrimination, that imagining yourself at the top of a made-up hierarchy will give you that sense of purpose and control you're searching for. The billionaires and the bishops are working together to run our government because they have a shared goal. Think about it. Why is Elon Musk talking about God? Why is Elon Musk talking about God? The idea of secular law is the idea that there is no authority that can supersede democracy. And that is very inconvenient for the billionaire class because there are fewer of them than us. When the law is God, the law belongs to the people. But when God is the law belongs to the powerful. The bishops have always wanted a world where secular law is optional so they can have the power to force us all to organize our lives around their beliefs. And the billionaires have realized this is a good outcome for them too, because when the law is optional, that means the laws that protect workers and consumers and the environment are optional. And if all they have to do is fake a little piety to get it, they'll do it. They've done worse. And where are the bigots in all of this? The bigots are on the streets of Minneapolis right now, masked and armed, empowered to test out their most violent impulses as the enforcers of this new regime. Every theocracy has always had its inquisitors. They murdered Renee Nicole Good to send us a message. They believe this is their America, their white Christian America. They believe their wealth or their worship or their whiteness gives them a divine right to rule. And they know they cannot take it from us without making us fear their brutality and hoping that we turn away from one another in terror, because they know that when we discover solidarity, it is over for them. Because it's not their America. It's ours. And it always has been. America, yes. America belongs to the people who revere democracy, not authoritarianism. We, Unitarian Universalists and humanists like Thomas Paine and Thomas Jefferson, who wrote the promise of democracy into existence, the humanists like Frederick Douglass and Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Gloria Steinem, who fought to make it real, we are what makes America great, and we always have been. Humanists fought for this democracy. We won it and we improved it, and we will not lose it to a bankrupt game show host, his fawning sycophant sidekick who is so emasculated in his quest for power that he lets racists degrade his wife and asks for more, and a billionaire man-baby who makes dumbass exploding trucks. We have an important role to play in this national moment, and no one is going to play it better than us. We are here because we carry in our hearts the same extinguishable reverence for democracy that the religious right does for power and control. And we have the benefit of being right about what makes for fulfilled lives and free societies. We talk as Unitarian Universalists about the fire of commitment. As a lifelong UU, I have never seen us lack commitment. This needs to be the year we find our fire. Thomas Paine reminded us that we have it in our power to begin the world over again. So what will you do? The coming moment is going to require us to make sacrifices. We don't make sacrifices for a false promise of heaven. We make them for each other. We make them because, as humanists, we know that if no one is coming to save us, then we are the ones who must come to save ourselves. If you are waiting for a sign to act now, to do more, consider this your sign. I come not from the heavens, but from Washington, D.C., to tell you that we have a chance, but we have to take it. Get your whistles, protect your neighbors, be in the streets if you can, and fund the people in the streets if you can't. If you are thinking about making a gift to a pro-democracy organization in your will, give it now. You know what they say, you can't take it with you when the regime seizes your assets for subversive activity. We are not a people known for our urgency, but we have to find it. And we have to do the hard work of solidarity. We have to remember that the conflict in this country is not between the people who believe in God and the people who don't, but between the people who believe this country belongs to all of us and the people who believe it belongs to only them. If we hold each other at arm's length, they will break us apart. They try to divide us because they know that solidarity is the only thing that can overcome them. John Dietrich once said, the humanist is not much interested in the God idea, except that he considers it a detriment wherever and whenever it has diverted man's thought and effort from the real tasks that lie about him. We often direct that statement outward. The truth is it runs both ways. We have to remember that at our worst, we as humanists can distract ourselves with myopia about reacting against theism, and let it distract us from building solidarity with theists who are ready to be our partners in what not just Dietrich, but every humanist tells us are the most important fights of all. The axis of nonsense thrives on our cynicism and fear. They work their hardest to pit us against each other. They calibrate the technologies they own to push us further apart, to make us feel that we are alone and helpless. We're not alone, and we're not helpless. We are the moral descendants of the humanists that cast down a king, who fought to abolish slavery, who established Planned Parenthood and the ACLU and planned the March on Washington, who fought at every turn to make this country freer and fairer and one. We are the higher power we've been searching for. It is us. It is the teachers staying late to make sure a kid feels seen. It is the nurses holding the hands of the dying. It is the organizers knocking on doors in the rain. It is the protesters putting their bodies on the line to resist a fascist occupying force and protect their neighbors. It is the people in this room gathering on a Sunday morning not because we fear hell, but because we believe in the heaven we can create here on earth. The story of America is still being written. It is a grand, sprawling, and unfinished story of progress. And the only thing that has ever made this country great is the courage of those who refuse to stand still. Frederick Douglass once said, in the struggle for justice, the only reward is the opportunity to be in the struggle. And I hope you're coming to an idea of how today, this week, in this critical time in this city, in our country, you can deepen your involvement in the struggle. We will not be moved by fear. We will not be silenced by dogma. We will not be divided by the cheap tricks of the billionaires, the bishops, and the bigots. They have no loyalty to the American ideal. They revere power, money, racial supremacy, and moral superiority. And we who believe in humanism, in Reese and Dietrich's dream of a religion organized around worshiping not something outside ourselves, but our human community. In our reverence for democracy, we honor our country and we honor each other. As for me and my house, we will serve humanity and we will serve America. Thank you.